So I'm going to go back to the web and demonstrate how I could bring information from various search tools or websites into Zotero. And when we do this, I'm going to be relying a lot on the Zotero connector. The connector is showing for me up here in my Firefox browser, kind of in the upper right. This icon right now looks like an article, but sometimes it will change what it looks like. So we may see that in some of the things that I demonstrate. I'm going to start by trying to get a citation out of Melville to put into Zotero. So I'm going to search for Gold Rush in Melville. And on this page, I'm just going to click on this title. And once I'm at this title, you'll notice up here that if I hover over this, it says save to Zotero, but it looks like it actually changed to a folder. I'm going to click on that folder, and it's actually bringing up the items that showed up in my results list. And I can select one or more of these. I'm just going to select the trail of gold and silver, and I'm going to click OK. And up here in the upper right, it's saving citation information to my history example folder. It will default to saving to the folder that you have last selected in the client. So I've come over to my client. It should highlight what you last basically sent over to Zotero. So this does have the title, The Trail of Gold and Silver. And having that highlighted, I can see that it has identified it as a book, which is correct. It has the title, the author, other information about the series, and other data, including the place of publication and the publisher and the date of publication. So that is one item that I brought in using Melville and using the Zotero connector. So let's just show some other examples so you kind of get an idea again of how this can look. I'm over in Google Scholar and I'm just going to search for Gold Rush. And on here, I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to see if it will take me to a journal landing page. So this one does. It's an article out of the California Management Review. And I'm going to look again to see if there is a Zotero connector. So if I go into my browser, it says save to Zotero. This time it does look like an article icon. I'm going to click on this. It's again saving to my history example. And I'm going to go over here and e-retail. This is the data that it brought in. And that little X looked like it couldn't bring in the PDF automatically that was associated with it. But I do have the citation information. I personally think it can be helpful at this point to kind of do a quick double check that it looks like it brought in everything correctly. This is looking good to me. I'm not seeing anything weird like with all caps or something important missing like the digital object identifier, the DOI. So that was something we got to through Google Scholar. I'm now going to go to more of a traditional database. I'm going to go into America History and Life. This is on the EBSCO platform. It's very possible that you've used one or more databases on this platform. And I'm just going to search for Gold Rush, again, just as an example. And I'm going to find some items in here. So again, my favorite thing to do with Zotero is really to use the Zotero connector if I possibly can. So I'm actually going to try it on this page. This is sort of a landing page for the record in the database. I'm going to try the Zotero connector again. A Wonderful Dangerous Life. And that one down at the bottom. And again, it looks like I have some information about that. I don't have something like a DOI, which I might want to try to get at this point. This is a piece where I would have to check the UCE links to see if we have this immediately available. Let's try that out. So it's saying that we don't right now. So I would probably just leave that as is. The other thing I'm going to try, this is a little bit more unusual. So this is another database that we have, but it's focused on primary sources. It's something called the History Vault, and it's on the ProQuest platform, which is also a platform that might be familiar to you, but it is quite a bit different than some of our other databases. I'm going to search for protest, and let's try music. See if anything comes up for that. Okay, so this is a little bit different. We're getting, for instance, this item coming out of some papers. It does look like there's a PDF. I'm going to click on this first item, and I might see if there's any sort of save or share option. There is to RefWorks or to EndNote, which are other bibliographic citation management tools, but I'm not seeing an option to do that with Zotero or with an RIS file. So what I will probably do with this is, again, take my chances, click on the Zotero connector, but see what I get with this. So this is really more of an archival document. And let me go over to Zotero. So here it is, and all it is saying History Vault ProQuest web page. So this is an example of something where this is not particularly useful, and I may have to do some copying and pasting from the item into Zotero. So let me see if I can do this so it doesn't look too weird on this recording. But for instance, I may need to decide, okay, organization, federal agency, so I may need to identify this as the author, and I might have to do a little bit more looking at this to make sure that that's what I need to include for the author. I may include this as my title right now, so I'm going to come back to this. So History Vault is really the database, not the title. So I'm going to put that in there. And I don't really need a web title. And actually, web page doesn't seem to fit this very well. And for now, I'm going to choose document instead. And when you change the item type, this can sometimes change the fields that it presents to you. So I'm going to leave that for now because I made the edits. That's going to save those. But that is something you can run into, I find, particularly with things that maybe aren't sort of the standard books or articles, depending on the database or where you're getting them from, may result in having to do some manual editing on those. Okay, and let's try another one. So this is another primary source database. It's from a different vendor. It's called Making Up the Modern World. And this one I'm going to try trade and ships. So I'm getting a number of results in here. I'm going to scroll down a bit. I'm going to click on this item. And again, I could see what might be available under cite, but this looks like it's just giving me those citations. It does note over here, though, that the RIS file format can be used with citation managers, including Zotero, and they do have a download RIS. So I'm going to actually take this. It's not quite as quick and easy as the Zotero connector, but let's click on that. I'm actually just going to open it. Let me choose my text edit program to just open that so it doesn't put in any sort of funky coding on the back end. I'm going to Command A on my Mac, Command C. So I've copied this RIS citation information. I'm going to go over to Zotero, and in here, not in this initial client window, but if you look up in the very top, there should be a file item, and then you can import from the clipboard. So I had that pasted on my clipboard, and this is the item. So it's telling me that it's a book. It put in the title. It has identified an author. It's telling me there weren't any page numbers. It's giving me what looks like they think is the date. I'm going to take out these forward slashes and just kind of edit that, and a URL. So this one looks like it was pretty decent. Again, I could look back and see if I need to add anything else. But that is another option for bringing items into Zotero, is looking for a .ris file and then bringing it, importing from the clipboard, or you could import it from a file. So say you had saved that RIS file on your laptop. The other thing I just want to try on a different one in here, I haven't tried this before, is to see if the Zotero connector would work or not. So I used the site before to get the RIS file. I'm going to try clicking the Zotero connector, which now looks like an open book. It says a list of several ships. I'm going back to my client. Here's the item. And it looks like it brought in some data from the citation. There's nothing for author listed, and that could be a case of it may or may not have it. But I'm going to go back to this item and view the full citation and see if there's an author. So it doesn't look like they've actually identified an author on it. So that looks like there's a reason why this is blank. So those are just a few examples of getting citations into Zotero. You're really relying heavily on the Zotero connector. You can use the .ris file. And the other thing I'm going to try doing is dragging over a PDF. So let me bring up a PDF somewhere else on my computer. And I'm just going to try bringing it over. So I'm actually dragging from another monitor. Okay. Now, when I did this, it brought some information in. So this is what it was trying to bring in. It has some California legends, but it didn't give me very much. It did bring my PDF in here. So when I clicked it, it actually opened the PDF, but I would have to fill in that information, or I could find it somewhere else and bring in that citation.